Welcome to the Explainer. You know, when you're in a hospital, there's this entire invisible world working behind the scenes, an intricate system designed to do one thing: keep you safe. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and see how it all works.
And that's a really important question, right? Because healthcare is just so incredibly complex. You've got so many people, so many procedures, and the stakes are literally life and death. So the goal can't just be about fixing problems after they happen. The real trick is building a system that stops mistakes from happening in the first place. And that's where you see this huge shift in thinking. It's not about finding someone to blame when something goes wrong. Nope. It's about designing a system that's always aiming for perfection. So let's dive in and look at the core ideas that make this whole thing tick.
All right, so to build this kind of system, hospitals obviously don't just make things up as they go. They have these really powerful guiding philosophies. You can think of them as their playbooks for making sure everything is as safe and high quality as possible.
Okay, first up, we've got something called Total Quality Management, or TQM. This is a really foundational idea. The main takeaway? Quality is everyone's job. Seriously, it's not just on the doctors and nurses. It's the person at the front desk. It's the person cleaning the rooms. It's the surgeon. Everybody is on the same team, and that team has one focus: the patient.
Then you have Six Sigma. Now, if TQM is the big picture philosophy, Six Sigma is where the hardcore data comes in. This is all about numbers and eliminating defects. The goal is, well, it's basically perfection. We're talking a success rate of 99.9997%. To give you an idea of what that means, it's like making only about 3 mistakes for every million things you do. So in a hospital, that's making sure the right medicine gets to the right person correctly almost every single time. It's an incredibly high bar.
And then there's a popular mashup, Lean Six Sigma. This one is laser-focused on efficiency. It's all about finding and just ruthlessly cutting out waste. We're talking wasted time, wasted supplies, wasted steps, anything in the process that doesn't actually add value for the patient and just slows things down, get rid of it.
Now, what's so important to get here is that these aren't just, fuzzy, abstract ideas. They use really structured methods to make things happen, like this thing called DMAIC. It's a simple 5-step process. You define your problem, say wait times in the emergency room are too long. Then you measure how long they actually are. You analyze the data to figure out why they're so long. Then you improve the process. Maybe you change how patients are checked in. And finally, and this is key, you control it. You put systems in place to make sure those wait times don't creep back up.
Okay, so that's the theory, right? The big picture philosophies. But how does all this stuff, TQM, Six Sigma, DMAC, actually show up at a patient's bedside? Let's take a look at how this stuff gets put into action.
One of the most powerful tools they use is also one of the simplest. It's called a spaghetti diagram. And yeah, it's pretty much what it sounds like. A manager will literally follow a nurse or a technician around and trace their path on a floor plan. And what you end up with, more often than not, is this tangled mess of lines that looks, well, like a plate of spaghetti.
But by looking at that spaghetti, you can see all the wasted motion. Think about it. A nurse walking all the way down the hall and back again over and over just to grab the same blood pressure cuff. It's a huge waste of time and energy. And the solution might be super simple, like, hey, why don't we put a cuff in every room? It's a small change, but it frees up that nurse to spend more time, actually caring for patients.
And this is a perfect example of how those big, high-level ideas actually turn into real-world rules. You have organizations like the Joint Commission that set these national patient safety goals. And these are not suggestions. They are hard and fast rules that hospitals have to follow. For example, identify patients correctly. That's why every time you're in a hospital, they ask for your name and date of birth. It's not because they're forgetful. It's a specific safety protocol to prevent mix-ups. And you see this proactive thinking everywhere. It can be super high-tech, like real-time data dashboards that show the vital signs of the entire hospital at a glance. But it can also be incredibly simple and low-tech, but just as effective. Take 4P rounding. This is where a nurse just pops in every hour and proactively checks on 4 things: pain, potty, position, and possessions. It's a simple checklist that prevents a ton of problems before they even start.
But look, at the end of the day, healthcare is delivered by human beings, and no system is ever going to be absolutely perfect. So what happens when something does go wrong? What happens when an error slips through, despite all the best efforts? Well, that's when the safety net kicks in. Right away, a very formal, very structured process gets started. It all begins with something called an incident report. And I really want to emphasize this. An incident report is not about getting someone in trouble. It is a tool for learning. It's the organization's way of saying, okay, something happened, let's figure out what it was, and more importantly, why it happened so we can make sure it never happens again.
And these reports are written in very objective, factual language. Take a look at this one. It's a real example. Reading something like this, it just makes it real, doesn't it? It's not just some abstract statistic about medication errors. It's a specific story about a specific patient. It pinpoints exactly where the process broke down and turns a big, scary error into a concrete problem that you can actually solve.
But just knowing what happened, that's not enough. Not even close. The real goal, you could even say the obsession, of any good safety system is to get to the why. Why did the weight get transcribed incorrectly? It's all about digging deeper to find the root cause.
And that's exactly what a root cause analysis is for. It's a deep dive that looks way beyond the one person involved. It asks questions about the entire system. Was the policy confusing? Was the handwriting on the form hard to read? Was the person who made the mistake on their 12th hour of a double shift? You look at everything, the people, the process, the environment, to find out what really caused the problem.
So you see this pattern, right? It's this relentless focus on fixing the system, not blaming the person. And that brings us to what might be the single most important piece of this entire puzzle, creating the right kind of culture where safety can actually flourish.
And what we see here is a choice between two totally different worlds. On one side, you have a blame culture. This is where if you make a mistake, you hide it because you're terrified of getting fired. And what does that do? It drives errors underground and, ironically, makes the whole hospital more dangerous. But on the other side, you have what's called a just culture. And here, the focus is completely different. It's all about encouraging people to report mistakes so that everyone can learn from them.
And this is really the foundation of everything we've talked about. A just culture basically turns every single employee into a safety champion. It doesn't matter if you're the head of surgery or the person who just started yesterday. It creates this environment where you feel safe enough to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm worried about this, or even, I messed up. And that honesty is what makes the entire system stronger and ultimately safer for every single patient. So there you have it. We've gone from these big, guiding philosophies all the way down to the practical tools used at the bedside, and finally to the culture that holds it all together. It's pretty clear that building a truly safe healthcare system is this constant, ongoing quest. It never really ends, and it leaves you with a really important question, one that involves all of us, not just the people in the scrubs.